Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
This is the moment every fan waits for, the moment when hope stops whispering and starts speaking out loud, because for the first time in what feels like an age, the Toronto Blue Jays' plans are no longer hidden behind polite smiles and vague statements. This time, the curtain has been pulled back just enough for us to glimpse what's really happening, and the timing could not be more dramatic. With Christmas just days away and the league slowly holding its breath, the Jays' pursuit of multiple marquee free agents has taken on a new, sharper edge, and the most telling part of all is that Mark Shapiro himself has finally stepped into the light. Before we go any further, make sure you like the video, share it with a fellow Jays fan riding this emotional rollercoaster, and subscribe so you're here for every twist that's about to follow. There's something almost cinematic about the way this offseason has unfolded, like a long-burning thriller where the tension builds quietly before the first real confession changes everything. For weeks, it's been rumors, leaks, and educated guesses, but now we have words straight from the top, and they matter. Shapiro hasn't just spoken, he's sent a message, and it's one that feels deliberately aimed at both the fans and the rest of the league. He's acknowledged what everyone can see with their own eyes, that the American League East is getting stronger, sharper, and far more dangerous by the day, and that standing still simply isn't an option. When Shapiro talks about Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and Boston, he doesn't do it dismissively or defensively. He does it with respect, almost like a general surveying rival armies and recognizing their strengths. He openly admits Baltimore was better in the second half last year, that Tampa Bay will inevitably find a way to improve, and that the Red Sox, fresh off new moves, are positioning themselves frighteningly well for the future. He even goes as far as saying there may not be a team better positioned over the next 5 years than Boston, a statement that carries weight precisely because it's uncomfortable to hear. But nestled within that honesty is something far more important, a clear admission that the Blue Jays are not finished. What truly grabs attention is Shapiro's philosophy on free agency, because it cuts straight through the fog of speculation. He says there's no such thing as being close. You're either done or you're not. There is no middle ground. No moral victory for almost landing a superstar. That line alone feels like a direct response to years of frustration, years where fans have watched targets slip away while being told progress was made. This time, the message is different. The work is ongoing. The expectation is improvement. The division demands it. That kind of language doesn't come from a front office content with marginal gains. It comes from an organization that knows it's one move away from changing its own narrative. And when Shapiro says, flatly, we need to get better, it doesn't sound like corporate filler. It sounds like acknowledgement, maybe even a quiet promise. Because in a division this unforgiving, improving around the edges won't cut it. You need impact. You need presence. You need someone who shifts the balance the moment he steps into the clubhouse. Naturally, that brings us back to Kyle Tucker, a name that's begun to feel less like a rumor and more like a gravitational force pulling everything towards it. Every road seems to lead back to him, and it's not hard to see why. Tucker isn't just an upgrade, he's a statement. He's the kind of player who changes how opponents pitch, how lineups are constructed, and how fans feel walking into the stadium. If Shapiro's words are to mean anything, Tucker fits the bill better than anyone. What's made this pursuit even more fascinating is the very public recruiting effort unfolding in plain sight. This isn't quiet back-channel courting, this is social media doing what it does best, blurring the line between joke and intent. Over the past few weeks, Blue Jays players have been lining up in Kyle Tucker's comment sections like friends trying to convince someone to move cities. Miles Straw and Joey Loperfido were there early, joking, nudging, making it feel familiar rather than transactional. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. added the now infamous eye emoji, a tiny symbol that somehow carried the weight of 1,000 words. Then came the moment that made fans sit up straighter. Tucker posts about golf, an innocent enough question, and suddenly Tyler Heineman is inviting him to TPC Toronto, casually suggesting a future that hasn't been announced yet. Miles Straw piles on, enthusiasm dripping from every word. It feels playful, but it's also revealing. Relationships matter in this sport, and the Jays aren't hiding how hard they're leaning into them. Straw, in particular, feels like the unofficial recruiter-in-chief, and jokes about building him a statue if this works suddenly don't feel entirely ridiculous. These connections aren't imaginary, either. Straw and Tucker go back years. George Springer knows exactly what Tucker brings to a team, having shared battles and expectations. Heinemann and Tucker crossed paths within the same organization years ago, enough to plant a seed of familiarity. This isn't random. It's calculated, but done with warmth rather than pressure, and that combination can be powerful. No other team appears to be recruiting Tucker with this level of visible enthusiasm, and that, at the very least, raises eyebrows. At the same time, the Alex Bregman rumors continue to swirl, refusing to fade quietly into the background. Reports have suggested Toronto has genuine interest, and from a pure baseball standpoint, it makes sense. Bregman is polished, experienced, and immediately improves any lineup he joins. But there's a lingering sense that his name serves another purpose as well. In the chess match of free agency, showing interest in one star can subtly influence negotiations with another. Whether that's intentional leverage or genuine parallel pursuit, only those inside the front office truly know. What's clear is that the Jays can't afford to miss. Around the league, movement is happening. The Red Sox have already acted, adding Wilson Contreras and instantly improving their offense. Other teams are making quieter but meaningful upgrades. The league doesn't pause for anyone, and patience, while admirable, only works if it's rewarded. That's why Shapiro's comments resonate so strongly. They acknowledge reality without sugarcoating it. For fans, this creates a strange mix of anxiety and optimism. On one hand, you've heard promises before. On the other, this feels different. The language is firmer. The actions are louder. The recruiting is public. The reports from insiders are aligning. It's as if all the separate threads of this offseason are slowly being pulled into one knot, tightening with every passing day. As we sit here, 3 days from Christmas, it feels like the kind of moment that could define not just this winter, but the direction of the franchise for years. Land Kyle Tucker, and the Jays announce themselves as serious contenders in the most brutal division in baseball. Miss out, and all the talk about needing to get better rings a little hollow. That's the tension, and it's why this story has been so gripping. So stay tuned, because the next few days could bring the answer everyone's been waiting for. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know whether you believe this is finally the year the Jays land their superstar, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you're right here when the payoff arrives. Sometimes, the most important moves aren't the ones you hear about first, but the ones that come after the silence.